G'day there guys, Connor here again from Marquee Industries, and we're reading some more stories from Reddit today. As always, if you enjoy these videos, be sure to hit like and subscribe, and also the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Alrighty, let's get right into it. Okay folks, we're on Off My Chest. This one was written by user Pumice Alice, and it's titled, I'm leaving my boyfriend because of a prenup. I'm leaving because my boyfriend asked me first, a prenup. I've been with my boyfriend for about 2 years. Everything is going well and we love each other. We've been discussing marriage and he mentioned he would not marry me without a prenup. We discussed this in detail and I did not like what he proposed. His family owns a lot of property, land, and has a lot of savings. After marriage, he wants me to move into one of the houses his parents own. I told him I'm uncomfortable building a life and a family in a house I have no ownership in, and he didn't understand. I told him I'd prefer to rent a place together, or we can live temporarily in one of his parents' house and look at property together, but he refused. He said he liked the houses his parents and he already owned. He said he would not buy other property, and he said he would not sell any of his property to buy one with me. He told me if I wanted to own property, I could save up money by living in one of those properties and invest in one myself. Problem is, he would be entitled to half if we divorce since my purchase would happen after marriage. He told me I could pay his parents rent if I feel like I don't belong on the property. He told me I could buy half of the house we live in from his parents. Problem is, I don't like the houses that him or his parents own. They also have a lot of stuff, and I feel like there's no space for me. I want to look at houses. I want to pick the place I live in, and I want to do it with my partner. I've made this clear to him over and over, but he won't budge. He earns more than me and he has more assets than me for sure. He made it clear he was afraid I was a gold digger and he wants to protect himself and his family's assets from me, which I can understand. This whole thing has made me feel very weird. This topic has come up before and it's always made me feel very small. It makes me feel like all he cares about are his assets. It makes me feel like he wants me as long as I fit into the life he already built and doesn't care to build one with me. It makes me feel like I am a gold digger. He has enough money to retire right now and live comfortably. I don't. He basically told me that whatever money he earns now he can spend, so he won't be investing in too much anymore. He expects our earnings and our savings after marriage to be split, which I feel off about. I'm sure this is normal for some people. I'm sure other people would be happy to be with someone who is well off. I am not. I want someone beside me building a life with me, not someone who has built a life with his parents and wants me as long as I behave and fit into his life, which is how he's been making me feel. So, I'm leaving him. I welcome opinions on this, but yeah, it's been too long that this has made me feel off about our relationship. I'm protecting my peace and leaving him with all his houses and money. Yeah, like Opie said, I imagine this would be mostly personal preference. I can totally understand where Opie's getting at, but also I feel like, yeah, a lot of people would be happy that this guy has all these houses and assets and stuff, and the ease of just being able to move into a house whenever you want is pretty good. Let's look at the comments. This is a great move. You're doing the right thing. I'm usually team prenup, but you'd be getting screwed here, especially if you kept building wealth in your assets post-marriage and he just kicks back on what he already has. If you did split, he'd make out better than you despite already starting with one leg up. On top of that, he's not listening to what you want. Your own place and space and a life you build together. He just wants you to follow his plan. Yucky. Opie replies, that's what I was trying to get him to see too. But he takes it as, oh, so you're coming after the wealth my parents worked so hard to build? And I'm left speechless. I'm not sure such a one-sided prenup would even be enforceable, but since by the time a divorce happened, Opie would be so disheartened and beaten down by being a powerless accessory to her husband and his family, that might not matter or help. This sounds like an invitation to a lifetime of financial abuse, devaluation, and control for OP. Fiancee cares nothing about Opie's goals, values, needs, and vulnerabilities in life's major areas. He's got his locked in so tight that he never has to consider, much less compromise, to support Opie's unique humanity, point of view, and need for autonomy. Opie replies, Yes, I do feel like he wouldn't support me, which is what I want. His family is actually really sweet. I have a feeling his parents don't know about this situation, but I will talk to everyone when I leave, so I'll keep you all updated. You sound very grounded in this decision, like you've both felt it and thought about it through and through. If you've brought this up with him and he can't or won't see what you mean, and doesn't make any effort to understand or meet you halfway, then I very much understand your decision, because that isn't partnership. That's someone bulldozing the other because they're utterly convinced that they have the best perspective, best opinion, and have made the wisest choice, etc. It isn't even a discussion. That doesn't make you feel valuable or even human, to be honest. Like you and your feelings, opinions, and values basically don't exist. If no one hears you, do you even exist? Opie replies, yes, that's exactly right. I feel small and like he's doing me a favor by fitting me into his life. But I don't need that. I need a partner who I feel valued with, like you said. I've said this to him numerous times, but he slips back into thinking he needs to protect everything from me. And Opie adds context to the prenup talk during their relationship. No, he mentioned prenup very early, and I would keep asking him about the details, but he would keep it very vague, and assure me we would work it out when the time came. I never asked him about his assets, and I never actually knew how much assets his family had. The only things I knew were from some of his one-off comments about certain assets. If he mentioned this tenant or that tenant, or this thing they have to repair, etc., etc. I had also initiated these conversations. He mentioned wanting to live with me and work towards marriage. I figured then that time had come. This is when I sat him down and asked what he expected from me, what he wanted, and to clarify the conditions of any prenups he wanted to propose. He still tried to dodge my inquiry. It took so long for me to pull this information out of him. I guess I did wait 2 years, but marriage talks seemed like the right time to push him to discuss it. Yeah, absolutely, it was the right time to talk about it. Like, imagine if you'd waited longer and then found all this out after the fact. And yeah, the comments give some really good perspectives there. I guess I was kind of stuck up in the convenience of it all, but yeah, what good is that when you're miserable and constantly walking on eggshells, you know? Alrighty, let's jump to an update. So many things have happened. This is a bit of a rant, and I know I'm missing parts, but I'll try to cover the important bits. Before I start, here's some important context. I have a stable and rewarding career, and though I don't earn as much as him, I'm very happy with what I can afford. My parents have always taught me that women should be independent, and I've taken that to heart. I live below my means, which has allowed me to put aside money for savings and investments. A lot of comments have mentioned that I should take the free rent, and that it would somehow set me forward in life. But for me, giving up my sense of autonomy and control over my home, my safe space, is not worth the potential savings. I lived with my parents and saved aggressively until I was 30, so I'm lucky enough to be in a position where I can comfortably afford rent or a mortgage by myself. Plus, he expected the living situation to be permanent. I would not move into a house owned by someone else just to save on rent. Would it be nice to save $2,000 a month? Sure, but most people pay rent, and I'm not an exception. If I really wanted that, I could move back in with my parents. But again, autonomy is very important to me. Also, if he's this stubborn now, I don't see how this situation could be improved later after I already moved in. I could also counter the prenup and make it so all my accumulated assets stay mine, or put in a clause that I'll be compensated for any children we have, or put that I'd get alimony or at least have a roof over my head in case we divorce. But for me, that feels overly transactional. It also gives me the vibes that I'm not going to be living with a roommate who I sleep with and might have babies with, ? Not a partner. I prefer to feel like we're in it together. He can keep what was his, but I want to build up what is ours. Also, if everything is completely split, it'll open up a new can of worms. How will our expenses be split if I'm working and he's just chilling? What happens when we have children? He has money saved for them, but will I get a say in how we spend that money? I know these can be worked out, but this is not the type of marriage I want. I can't predict everything that will happen, and I don't think I can capture it in a contract. And it's already been so heartbreaking for me, I don't want to go through more. Anyways, yada yada yada. I'll just say that it felt like I was being stripped of my autonomy, stonewalled, and treated like a hostile. Okay, on to the updates. So I told him I needed to end this relationship. I appreciated and truly enjoyed my time with him, but our financial values and the preferred married lifestyle just don't match. It was a quick and easy conversation, to be honest. I expected the breakup to be a bit of a process, not a one and done thing, since our lives overlap a lot. I'm also in contact with a lot of his family, so of course, during this whole time, a lot of them got involved, but blah blah blah, not super relevant to updates. The talk with his parents. Okay, I love his parents. I had a great relationship with them. I would go over to their house and we would have food, chat, watch TV. Sometimes I would go to the parties they'd host without my ex if he was busy. A few days after my talk with my ex, I went over to say goodbye. I didn't know if the prenup was family enforced or not, so I kept it very general and mainly focused on how the situation made me feel and what I was looking for in a relationship. His parents were shocked Pikachu face when I told them why I was leaving. I'm going to bullet point the rest. His parents really want grandbabies. However, ex's brother and sister-in-law do not want kids. They were so happy when I came into their lives and she found out I wanted kids. His parents had created their wealth together, with his dad being the major breadwinner for most of the relationship. His mum was shocked at what he was offering me, saying these aren't the values he was raised with. She had been effectively retired since almost 15 years ago, and she said ex's dad never made her feel uncomfortable because of the difference in earning potential. They told me that they'd built their assets for themselves and their children. They said that includes whoever their children decided to share their lives with. They have many properties, however they also have enough investments that they can live off of those. They told me their plan was to sign over a house of our choosing as a wedding gift, or sell a house and give us cash so we could buy a house we both wanted. As they got older, they planned to evenly divide their properties between my ex and his brother, since they wouldn't want to manage the properties anymore and live off investments. Ex's mum said she would have made sure my name was on my ex's portion, especially since we were wanting kids. They mentioned investments will go directly into funds for grandkids after their passing. Maybe this is what my ex was referring to when he said his children would be set. Bit morbid though. Ex's mum told me that the mother of her grandbabies would be taken care of and she wanted us to be on equal footing while raising a family. To be honest, this conversation was kind of like a weight off my chest. I always loved his family and never felt excluded, but the prenup talks left me confused and hurt. What they said fit with what I knew from my ex and them before. I'd be lying if I said I didn't start imagining this life. I talked to my ex again, and I'll bullet point this too. Basically, he told me his dad had joked before about how he hoped him and his brother would not find gold diggers, and that's where that comment came from. He felt responsibility to protect his parents' assets since he didn't feel entitled to them, so by extension, I wasn't entitled either. In his culture, sons carry on the family line, so he felt he had to keep his assets in the family line, which I'm not part of, but any sons we had would be. Most of the assets he's worried about are under his parents' name, and he'd never asked for their opinion on what to do. He just did what he thought he should be. He also said he isn't that well off, and that his assets shouldn't come between us. This is still confusing to me. Isn't this whole thing because he was well off and wanted to hold on to what he had and not create a shared lifestyle? I think maybe he meant he didn't own much, and most things actually were under his parents' name. He felt he was punching above his weight with me and was scared I would leave him. He was afraid I was with him because of his finances, since that was the only thing he had more of, whereas he said I am intelligent, hardworking, beautiful, blah blah blah. He was scared about moving forward with the relationship, but instead of communicating, he became defensive. And to me, it seems like he said and did things because he was feeling deeply insecure. He had made a couple passing comments before about me being more beautiful than him, or how I'm more hardworking, etc., etc., but I'd always taken them as compliments, not self-deprecating comments towards himself. He's such a caring, funny, and intelligent person, just in a different way than me. Also, I know he's not as confident as he comes across, but I had no idea that his insecurities ran this deep. He also apologized over and over about how he didn't mean to make me feel like an outsider to him and his parents, and insisted that he wanted to share a life with me. He said his insecurities and fear got the best of him, and he didn't handle it well. He had taken advantage of my patience and lashed out because he felt inadequate and scared. It broke my heart, because I think all of this could have been avoided. We've been through this song and dance before many times, where he would feel some sort of way and then act out as he's processing it. Until now, I always stay through it and we move on, but it's never gone on for so long. But I guess the issues we've faced before were smaller compared to mapping out our whole lives. I've pushed him to seek individual counselling, and we've attended couples counselling together, but I can't force him to sit and identify his emotions or employ the tools we were taught. The prenup conversation happened over a long period of time. He had so many chances to pump the brakes and reflect on what he was saying, and simply just listen to me, but he didn't. He then sat in front of me saying that everything he said before was not what he meant. He said he would be happy to take care of me and our future kids. We could buy a house together, or rent if I wanted to, because now he wasn't scared about creating a life together. Completely opposite to everything he had been saying. But how unsettling is it that he seemed so completely comfortable and confident in the hurtful words he previously said, and was okay with placing me in a very unequal position in the relationship, despite me continuously trying to articulate what I wanted and how he was making me feel. He didn't even consider my side over months. I know I have a good deal with what his parents are offering, and I know him and I get along super well, but I'm not marrying his parents. I can't have his mum with us during every argument or life decision we take. Thinking back, I can count on one hand where we've run into issues and he was able to address it without acting up. He's such a nice guy, but I can't be his garbage bin every time he needs to sort out his feelings. It's already worn me down. He's a grown man, he's intelligent and intuitive. He's had 2 years to learn how to communicate with me, and he's not. I honestly can't tell if what he said to me is genuine, or coming from his parents, or coming from a fear of losing me. I could give him the benefit of the doubt again and move forward with the relationship as I've done in the past, but I'm tired. I think this is a fixable problem, but I also have not seen any improvement since we started dating. If anything, this prolonged experience has made me feel it's gotten worse. I will not make the mistake of investing in a man because of what he could be instead of who he is. If the last few months are a testament to how he handles stressful situations, I can only take things as they are and assume they won't change. This whole thing has left me sour. I don't need too much, but I do expect to be treated with love and support, even during times of disagreements. I cannot just forget the feelings and words I've felt and heard over the last couple of months. I can't just unhear and unknow that he is afraid I'm a gold digger. That was just one of the many comments that really hurt me. I think life will have a lot more ups and downs, and I cannot imagine what kind of difficulties we'll face if this is how we communicate, even after identifying it and working on it in therapy. For these reasons, I'm still choosing to walk away. Very different from leaving because of a prenup, but it's leaving nonetheless. And to be honest, this hurts more. I know it will hurt for a while, but I pray I'll be avoiding heartache and complications in the future. Who knows? If it was meant to be, maybe we'll find our way back. For now, I've told him and his family I need space and time. I know that it seems like I'm giving up a lot, but of course there are things I can't put in a post. And Opie adds, I actually wrote the above quite early, but I didn't post because it didn't feel like it was over. But now, after this time, I know it is. It's been tough, and it's only been a couple of months, but I'm sure I made the right call. It's tough watching everyone coupled up and having children, but it is what it is. I'm proud of myself for leaving, and I'm slowly healing. Thank you everyone for your comments and DMs. Sorry I couldn't get back to everyone, but I appreciate you all. And now for some final comments. This reminds me of the post where the OP, I believe, Fiancee, had a previous relationship with a gold digger, so now he was forcing her to continuously prove that she wasn't. She wasn't even allowed to heat the house. She had to buy all home decor herself, and there was a lot more. Eventually, Reddit helped her realize it was not worth it, and ex-fiancé was surprised Pikachu when she left. He was right in one thing though, she is, in fact, too good for him. I think my girlfriend is so much better than me in every way, so I'm going to belittle her until she leaves me. Yeah, and that pretty much sums up the mentality of OP's ex here. What do you guys think about that one? Give me your thoughts down in the comments. Either way, let's move on to another story. Alrighty guys, we're on True Off My Chest. This one was written by user Positive Pie, and it's titled, Getting Engaged Has Ruined My Relationship. My partner and I have been together for nearly 6 years. He has honestly been the most amazing, wonderful and supportive person in my life. He doesn't just make me happier, he makes me healthier. He's been absolutely fantastic in every way imaginable. About 2 years ago, we had the big marriage talk. We were both honest about what we wanted. He admitted that getting married made him so nervous. He has literally never seen a successful marriage. Every marriage he's ever witnessed has either ended in disastrous divorce or very sad premature death. I said I would stay with him whatever he chose, but there are some things I wouldn't do unless we were married. Just as he's seen too many marriages fail, I've seen too many loved ones be abandoned by men once the kids come along, or when he finds a better option. In other words, as long as we weren't married, no kids, and our finances remained strictly untangled from each other. He proposed to me a few months after that, and since then, he's turned into an absolute nightmare. First, he refuses to do anything wedding-related, but accuses me of taking over and being a bridezilla when I make decisions without him. He does things behind my back, like inviting our friend who has 4 kids to bring the children, when we agreed the only exception to the no kids rule would be my niece, who will be 3 months old and for obvious reasons can't be separated from my sister for the weekend. I can swallow that frustration, but he's also become hypercritical. Any mess around the house, even if he made it, if I haven't cleaned it up by the time he gets home, he refuses to talk to me. I work from home, so I usually do a lot of the chores, like the dishwasher on my lunch break, but sometimes I don't have time. This is a busy time of year, and while my job is usually constrained to the 9 to 5, in the last few weeks I've had to work until 8 or 9. When he stormed in last night angry that he had to clean the kitchen, and I pointed out I'd been working for 12 hours straight, he looked me in the eyes and said, "So?" He's threatened to throw me out of the house and call off the engagement 4 times. He's stopped initiating sex. I've come to dread the sound of the door unlocking because he can't go 5 minutes without finding a problem to have with me. It's so bad that my mother, who was ready to adopt him a year ago, is refusing to be the witness that signs our marriage certificate. I've asked to call off the wedding, go back to just being girlfriend and boyfriend, but he says he really does want to get married, and he's just doing all of this to make sure he's making the right choice. Increasingly though, all he's done is convince me I'm making the wrong one. Edit to add, if it wasn't clear, I'd already decided not to marry him when I made this post. I'm packing up and going to my mum's for now. I'm safe and don't need anyone to call the cops. Thanks to the person who offered though. Yeah, I'd say call his bluff. Get rid of this guy. He sounds like a prick. Let's go to the comments. Take it from someone who should have left before getting married. You can read my post on my profile too if you'd like. My husband was bad before we got married, and I still married him anyway because he promised he would do better and that he would stop being an a-hole. It didn't get better, it got 10 times worse. I'm now secretly planning to leave him and getting all my ducks in a row. Leave now. Don't marry him. I wish I'd left my relationship before signing the damn papers. Getting divorced is so much more complicated than just leaving without a legally binding contract. Know your worth and don't take his crap. I wish you all the best. You aren't obligated to do anything, despite what anyone says. Do not marry this man. Leave. Why are you asking? This isn't tenable. Him testing you with crappy treatment is manipulative, abusive, and immature. I don't know what other shoe you're waiting to drop, but you need to walk away from this nightmare as a single woman, not even as boyfriend and girlfriend. The disrespect should be enough for you to not even want to be in that situation. End the relationship. If he's being this much of an a-hole as a fiancé, then he'll be infinitely worse as a husband. You have an opportunity to dodge a bullet. Take it. Opie answers some comments. Someone says, he's abusive. He was always going to be abusive once he felt he'd locked you down. This is who he is. You can't stay with him because of who he used to be, because he isn't that person anymore. He will likely never be that person again. Opie replies, it's really hard to believe he was trying to lock me down. If anything, I had to kind of convince him to propose. But yeah, I'm not planning to marry this man anymore. Opie responds when told, don't convince someone to marry you if they don't want to. I mean, when we discussed it, I told him I would be perfectly happy not getting married if he didn't want to. I knew he feels generally disillusioned with marriage. I just simply wasn't willing to commit to something like kids or a mortgage if he couldn't honestly say he was planning on staying with me for the rest of our lives. Nothing would have happened if he hadn't asked me. Someone asks, did he agree to marry only for financial reasons? I don't think so. I have thought a lot about that. At the time he proposed, we knew his grandma was going to pass away soon. We were renting the house next door to her, and while we knew he'd inherit the house we were living in, the two houses had slowly merged gardens in the 10 years he and his grandma had been living next to each other. The two houses had been in the family since the 30s, so he was quite keen on buying next door to both avoid losing it, the family member who inherited it couldn't afford to keep it, but also because having a stranger live there would have been a huge privacy issue for both houses. We'd hoped to rent it to a friend or another family member. He does earn a lot more than me, but he's self-employed, so the banks are quite wary of loaning to him. I work in a university which the banks consider a safe professional job, so getting credit and loans would have been much easier if he'd been married to me. Thinking back on it, I wonder if he asked me not because it was something he wanted per se, but just something that made sense. We'd been together for a while, so it made sense to keep moving forward. It made financial sense and his family liked me. I'm not a perfect partner or person, but weighing it all up, marrying me had lots of factual advantages for him. I even have dual American citizenship and he'd always dreamed of moving to America one day. Yeah, I'd say going off what we know of this guy, I'd say the proposal was more of a convenience thing than anything else. What do you guys think? Alright, on to an update. Sorry for the wait, folks. I've had a lot to do. This has honestly been one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. I'm back in with my parents, which is awful. I hate it. I feel like a teenager again. They're being very supportive and I'm grateful I had somewhere to go, but the house is so damn loud and I forgot what it was like. I'm trying to find an affordable apartment, but it's London, so that feels like a bit of a pipe dream. To top it all off, cancelling a wedding a month before is expensive. Only the celebrant and the photographer have accepted refunds. Every other vendor has been paid in full, and that's money just flushed down the toilet. It's been exhausting. Before this, I was in a pretty great financial situation. I had savings and a plan and a house and a financially stable partner. Now I have less than 1/10 of my savings, nowhere to live, and no real prospects for the future. It's not easy processing losing him, not easy at all. I'm still in the part where everything makes me cry, and you feel like someone has taken scissors to your soul. But I've experienced both grief and breakups. I know this feeling will eventually fade, even if it might never completely disappear. When it's mixed in with the relief of being able to exist without criticism every 5 minutes, I'm hopeful it will pass sooner rather than later. But I have no experience for this kind of existential fear of being alone, not having the family I've wanted for so long, not knowing what's next, actually trying to date someone. When I was little, I never knew what I wanted from my career, other than that I had one, but I always knew I wanted to be a mum. That dream feels like it's getting further and further away every day. I have no experience for this burning embarrassment of telling everyone in your life that the wedding they were invited to isn't happening. It was so painful telling his niece and nephew I wasn't going to be seeing them again. They cried and clung to me and begged me not to go, and they ripped my heart out. It's easy on Reddit to tell someone to end things, but when you've built a life together, disentangling it is so bloody difficult. A divorce would be easier because then we'd have a legal framework for all of this. Instead, I have to decide if I want to take him to court for the custody of my cat, when I don't have a proper place to house her, but she's my cat. You might have noticed I've avoided really talking about my ex. We're communicating through our parents. He tried to reach out several times, but if I talk to him, I know I'll do what I always do. I'll buckle and take him back, because I love him very, very much. I've been in therapy, again courtesy of my parents, and my therapist is to keep reminding me to love myself more than I love him. I miss him anyway. He's promised to change, promised couples counselling, promised he knows he was wrong, but he also hasn't said the word sorry yet. Such a small word, and yet so telling. He's been generally pretty accommodating to me. Expenses have been split 50-50, which is fair, but certainly a worse deal for me. He left the house so I could gather my things in peace. I can tell from the state of it that this has hit him hard. The cats have been the only sticking point, and I understand why. The house is old and creaks. Being there alone isn't fun. Neither of us liked it when we were alone, and a large part of the reason we got cats was for the company at night when the other was away. I'm sorry if this wasn't the update you wanted to hear. My mind is all over the place. Yeah, man, I mean, regardless of whether or not it's the right decision, it's still gonna hurt, right? Let's read some final comments. Damn, this dude realized a self-fulfilling prophecy and torched down his own marriage before it even happened. Thank goodness she didn't subscribe to the sunken cost fallacy and push forward with the wedding. It's never easy to walk away from a life with someone, especially if you still love them. Right choice, still heartbreaking. Quote, I've asked to call off the wedding, go back to being just girlfriend and boyfriend, but he says he really does want to get married and he's just doing all of this to make sure he's making the right choice. That's what really makes it messed up. It was purposeful. This wasn't something he was doing inadvertently because of stress or cold feet and didn't even see himself doing it, which would still be bad, but could maybe be overcome with therapy. He did it on purpose. He didn't want to go back to just being in a relationship, but have to treat her like a person. He wanted the marriage and treating her badly. It's horrible to go through a breakup like that, but it's clearly the right choice. Yeah, hard to disagree with that one. What do you guys think? Let me know down below. Alrighty, well let's put that one to bed and we'll move on to another story. Alrighty, jumping over to Am I the A-hole? This one was written by user Puzzleheaded and it's titled, Am I the a-hole for hiding money from my husband? I can't use my main account for obvious reasons. My husband is out of work. He does odd jobs around town to bring in a few $100s a month. I am employed, but the job doesn't pay well. Saving money is hard. A few months ago we had a birth control failure and now we are expecting. Saving money became an even bigger priority for me. My husband seemed to want to spend more because he said my pregnancy was causing him stress and activating his anxiety and depression, and partying helped. He says all of that will be over when the baby comes. My husband received a really generous job offer recently. He decided to use the money I'd been saving. He figured he could replace it with the first several paychecks. He never contributed a penny to that savings fund. Husband claims that since we're married, it was our money and he had every right to it. The job offer fell through. Husband then admitted he took my money. It took me months to scrape that together and he blew through it in 2 weeks. His friends have been telling me that I'm not allowed to be upset because we're married, so that money was, quote, marital property. I've also been told that husband needed the money more than I did because it helped him cope, and I should just be glad he partied instead of worse. Husband said that he'll not touch any future savings for the sake of the baby. It all came to a head last weekend when my husband ran out of cigs. I ended up scrounging together change to buy his packs so he could make it until I got paid. Husband did not believe that I was broke. While I was at work on Monday, he went through our apartment to look for any money I may have hidden. He found $20 in a winter coat I had in storage that I'd forgotten about. He also logged into my online banking and saw that I had money in my account, but that money was earmarked for a bill. He called my work twice to yell at me and then chewed me out when I got home. He told me that I'm a liar and that I withheld something that he needed. I tried to explain that I had no clue that there was any money in my winter clothing and that my money in the bank account was for a bill. He didn't care. At least 2 of his friends have told me that I could have paid the bill a few days late if it meant supporting my husband while he's going through so much. This morning, husband told me that since I'm a liar and willing to hide things from him, that he doesn't feel like he needs to pay back money that he took until I stop being such an a-hole to him. I really wasn't lying. As far as I'm concerned, bill money is non-negotiable. Am I the a-hole for not telling him about the bill money? Jesus, talk about an insight into like a properly toxic partner. This guy sounds like he's got so many bad things going for him, I don't even know why Opie's here in the first place. Let's read some comments. Info, is your husband literally 8 years old? Opie says 30s. He thinks I was punishing him because he had an affair when he first found out I was pregnant. I've been told by friends and family that a lot of guys stray when they first find out. I'm not happy, but that's not why I wouldn't let him have the money. I was just taught by my grandma that bills come before anything else. Not the a-hole, obviously. What the F is wrong with your husband? If money is so tight, how can he possibly justify even buying smokes? His friends are making the situation much worse, and he's probably blowing up his side of the story to them to make you seem like you're not giving him any money. Make him get a job, and make him pay for his own crap. Opie replies, I have been told that one of his friends is spreading the idea that the baby is not his, and I don't know if this guy came up with it on his own. The same guy is telling people that I'm financially abusive towards my husband. It's not helping things. Opie comments more info on the husband and their relationship. He's from a southern background, and his family is very boys will be boys. My family is fundamentalist and thinks divorce is a sin. He is constantly telling our mutual friends that he would be lost without me, and he doesn't know how he got so lucky to have someone who takes such good care of him. He told someone just yesterday that he would have died years ago without me, that it's proof of what a wonderful mum I'll make. The bank account. We share a phone, so he has access to my banking app. The account is in my name only. I changed the password once, but he said that was proof that I was lying and hiding things. Another comment says, WTF, why are you still with him? Are you seriously bringing a child into this mess? Everyone sucks here. Him for obvious reasons, and you for allowing his behavior by being a doormat. Please let my harsh words be reality check you need to see that this relationship is not right. It's borderline toxic. Opie says, well, according to my mother, no one will ever love me but my family, and that's because they have to. I'm lucky I found anyone who can stand me at all. Someone says abortion? That was considered, but I live in a state where that option is very hard to access. Then Opie comments the next day. Is one of you a witch? Is there an am I the a-hole curse or blessing that I was previously unaware of? My husband partied a little too hard and got himself arrested this morning. Due to previous behaviour, he's going to have to sit in jail for a few weeks while they sort things out. You've all given me things to think about, and the universe gave me time to mull them over. How about that? Yeah, the universe does work in mysterious ways, and hopefully Opie heeds some of the advice from the comments here because, yeah, I think we can all agree that this guy's bad news, and she needs to get out. Okay, Opie makes an update, 4 years later. I made a post on this account 4 years ago when things were really bad in my life. Unbeknownst to me, my husband was addicted to drugs. His friends who were all on his side were also doing drugs with him. Here's my update to that situation. My now ex-husband was contemplating getting rid of us both. Him getting arrested that weekend in 2020 saved my life. I've gone low contact with my family. My best friend helped me get a new job. I met some people who helped me get to a better place. My ex is still wallowing down in the gutter, but at least he didn't take us with him. My daughter was born safe, happy, and loved. Life isn't perfect, but it's so much better than it used to be. One comment says, a few questions. 1, why did he get arrested? And 2, when you say he was planning to get rid of you, you mean as in leaving you, right? Opie says, I didn't want to admit this 4 years ago, but I'm okay to talk about it now. He came home high and drunk and beat the daylights out of me. I'm lucky to be alive. I suffered a permanent injury, and he still only got a 6-month sentence. Wow, that's scary stuff, eh? I mean, in hindsight, he was showing all the attributes of a drug user and an addict, but the violence on top of that as well is just disgusting, reprehensible. Let's read some final comments. Not shocking he was on drugs. He was desperate for money, partying, cheating, couldn't hold a job and only did odd jobs. Violent. I don't have anything to say that isn't violent towards the ex-husband. Good for OP for getting out. Her best friend is a real one. Domestic violence is one of the leading causes of death during pregnancy. It can be a very dangerous time. 1 in 6 women in the US are abused during pregnancy. If you're at risk, please check this out and stay safe. And there's a link there for a domestic abuse hotline. Alrighty guys, well on that cheerful note, we're going to leave that one there. I'd love to hear your thoughts down below in the comments. Either way, that's it from me today. I hope you guys enjoyed those stories. Thanks for making it to the end, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a good day. Cheers.